YouTube, it's yours truly, back with a special video, and this will be our first of many late greats. These will be like kind of like biographies honoring late or deceased players, all-time legends, and many more across many different sports. And we're gonna start it off with Richard Lane. So, if you didn't know, which most of you probably won't, because this took a whole lot of time to make, I'm gonna play some instrumentals in the background. Richard Lane was born on April 16, 1928, in Austin, Texas. His mother was a prostitute. His father was a pimp nicknamed Texas Slim. At 3 months of age, his biological mother discarded him in a dumpster. Fortunately, he was found by Ella Lane. Ella Lane adopted Richard. Ella was a widow with two other children, but rightfully treated him like her own. Richard Lane would grow up and develop an interest in many sports. He was a three-sport athlete at L.C. Anderson High School in Austin. He enjoyed playing basketball the most, but he was best in football. Richard Lane helped Anderson win the state championship. Due to the violent nature of football, Miss Lane advocated for Richard to pursue other hobbies. But if anyone's blessed enough to have their parents in their life, you always hear them because they're always nagging you, but you never listen to them. Despite Miss Lane's disapproval of football, Richard continued to play with the neighborhood kids. After Ella became ill, Richard moved to Nebraska, where his biological mother was. Richard played 1 year of college football in Nebraska at Scottsbluff Junior College. He joined the Army at the age of 19. He served as a lieutenant colonel in the Korean War. While serving the United States, he got married and he played football for Fort Ord, a military base in California. In his last season, he caught 18 touchdowns. After a few years of service, he was discharged from the Army. He began work at an aircraft plant. There, he would lift large sheets of oil-covered metal into bins. He said he ruined about 15 pairs of khakis working that job. He hated his current employment situation, so one day, while riding the bus to work, he noticed the LA Rams football office. When the opportunity appeared in 1952, he walked into the LA Rams office with a scrapbook of his high school and junior college clippings and asked for a tryout. His wife was pregnant at the time, and he hated his job, so he quickly signed the $4,500 contract he was offered. Lane didn't play at a 4-year college, so he didn't have the experience that other players had. In addition, the Rams were stacked. They had just won the 1951 NFL championship over the Cleveland Browns by a score of 24-17. This was before the AFL and NFL merged and before the championship games became known as the Super Bowl. This is also before the Cleveland Browns became the Doo-Doo Browns. Anyways, Lane tried out as an offensive end. Today we call this position wide receiver. But the Rams had just won the Super Bowl and the team was stacked. This LA Rams wide receiver squad had future Hall of Famer Tom Fears and Elroy Crazy Legs Hirsch. To give you an idea of how good Elroy Crazy Legs Hirsch was, he was one of the 10 wide receivers that made the NFL 100 list. In addition, he is one of the 11 wide receivers to attain a triple crown. A triple crown in football is not like horse racing, where you win 3 different things. A triple crown in football at the wide receiver position is when you lead the league in receptions, receiving yards, and receiving TDs all in the same year. The most recent player to do that was Steve Smith in the year 2005. However, determined to improve and become a Hall of Famer himself, Lane continuously sought advice from other future Hall of Famer Tom Fears in the locker room. Fears loved records and would routinely play them. The song Fear played the most is a track by trombonist and bandleader Buddy Murrow. The track is called Night Train. It is a rendition of Jimmy Forrest's Night Train. Night Train. The song that you hear right now playing in the background. And at first I didn't like these instrumentals, but I come to appreciate them over time. And I actually like it more than a lot of garbage you hear on the radio. right? Because at least there is trash lyrics over the instrumentals. But that's a different story. Anyway, Lane would visit Fears so much for advice. Fears' roommate, a man named Ben Sheets, would say, "Here comes Night Train," every time he saw Lane. That is how he got the nickname Night Train. And his head coach, when he did finally make the team, was Joe Stadahar. And Stadahar made the decision to move Lane to cornerback, which they called at the time defensive end. But I'm just going to call it cornerback to avoid confusion. Fear's tutoring gave Lane an understanding of route concepts, passing patterns, and that actually became beneficial as a defender because Lane then knew what to look for whenever the offense was running their offense. As a rookie, Lane finished the 1952 season with 14 interceptions. 14 interceptions is still the NFL record for most interceptions in a season. And he did this as a rookie with only 1 year of college experience. Also, the seasons were shorter. He had 14 picks in just 12 games. And he had 16 games or 17 games like the current or future NFL will have. He would have been on pace to finish with 19 or 20 interceptions. The worst part about it is he said he dropped 10 picks because the ball hit him right in the head. If Lane's hands were better his rookie season, he could have finished with well over 20 interceptions. Although Lane finished his career with 68 interceptions, which ranks third all time, he was best known for his tackling ability. His tackling method was to rip a ball carrier down by his neck or head. Similar to a vicious clothesline, this tackle became known as the Night Train necktie. Lane's quote on tackling is as follows: "My object is to stop the guy before he gains another inch. If I hit him in the legs, they may fall forward for the first down. There is nothing I hate worse than a first down. I grab them around the neck so I can get back to the bench and sit down." That tackling method was soon banned. For obvious reasons, of course. Yet, even while his trademarked move, Lane still instilled fear into the opposition with hard hits. After 2 seasons with the LA Rams, he was traded to the Chicago Cardinals in 1954. He was traded after a coaching change occurred and the new head coach, Hampton Poole, wanted Lane to stop gambling and freelancing as much. Poole wanted Lane to play a more conservative and disciplined game. Lane voiced his frustration and was labeled a malcontent, which would be similar to being labeled as uncoachable or a coach killer or stuff like that today. He made the Pro Bowl his first 3 years as a Cardinal. A highlight of his career occurred on November 13, 1955. In clutch situations, Lane would line up at wide receiver. On that day, he caught a 98-yard passing TD. That was the second longest passing TD in NFL history at the time. On his 3rd year as a Cardinal, he also made first-team All-Pro to go along with that Pro Bowl appearance of his. After 3 more years as a Cardinal, he would make 1 more Pro Bowl appearance before playing his last 6 years with the Detroit Lions. The Cardinals traded Lane for the same reasons the Rams did. The head coach did not approve of Lane's freelancing. The Cardinals traded Lane for an offensive lineman named Gary Perry. Or it might be Jerry Perry. It's Jerry spelled with a G. So I think that's Jerry. I'm not sure. Don't quote me. But for an offensive lineman, the Cardinals got finessed by the Lions. It's crazy because the Cardinals just finessed the Texans in real life. But that's a different story. 60 years ago, still talking about 1960, his first 3 years in Detroit were his best years. He made first-team All-Pro for all 3 of them. A highlight of his tenure with the Lions is the first game he won with them. In that game, he had an 80-yard pick six on Johnny Unitas. Another highlight would be a 1962 Pro Bowl game. During the game, he was suffering from appendicitis. Despite the pain, he managed to block an extra point and get an interception. The following day, he got his appendix removed. His last 3 years with Detroit were played with injuries, father time, and personal tragedies. Lane and his wife separated in 1962 and got divorced in January 1963. 7 months later, in July 1963, Lane would marry famous jazz musician Dinah Washington. The best man of the wedding was NBA superstar Wilt Chamberlain. Unfortunately, on December 14th of that same year, Lane found his wife dead. She had overdosed on prescription pills. In 1964, Lane married Mary Cowser. Mary was the first African American woman to appear in a Coca-Cola advertisement. The following year, they had a son named Richard Latimer Lane. This would be Lane's second and last child. After the 1965 season, Lane would retire. In 1969, he was voted the best cornerback in the first 50 years of the NFL history. In 1974, he was enshrined into the Hall of Fame. Him and his wife also got divorced that same year. After his pro football career, Lane coached at the collegiate and professional levels. In 1994, Lane moved back to his hometown of Austin, Texas. He had developed diabetes and high blood pressure. His pension for the NFL was a measly $200 a month. Social Security paid for his rent. Lane's highest annual salary was $25,000. That's the highest he ever made in 1 year during his lifetime. In 2001, Lane moved into an assisted living facility in Austin. There, Lane was succumbed to a heart attack on January 29, 2002 at a retirement home. Lane transformed the position. He was the perfect blend of size, speed, and power. He will be remembered as an all-time great. So, in addition, now that we're done with the information, a couple things to know about this video. He had 68 interceptions in his career. He recovered 11 fumbles, and he forced 4 of them. He returned 1 fumble for a TD and returned 5 interceptions for a TD. I saved his TD highlights for the end. In addition, I showed him forcing 11 fumbles that you count throughout this video. I know he only forced 4, and I said he recovered 11, but I needed to get this video to a specific length of time. And I showed 47 interceptions this video, if you wanted to count. You may be like, so he got 47 in this video, but he said he got 68. If you watch my NFL 100 cornerback video, he had 21 in that one. So that's 68 interceptions that you guys seen of him so far. 11 fumbles, and that's a total of 79 highlights. I added in 2 sacks in this video for a total of 81 highlights, right? 81 is his jersey number. I'm not sure he got that number because he was initially a wide receiver, or if numbers weren't limited to a certain position when he played, and that's the number he chose. Because, you know, now in the NFL, corners got to get number 20 or so forth, 30s, whatever. Same with running backs. And also, in regards to the sacks, he was one of the first cornerbacks to get, I couldn't confirm this, so it's not conclusive, but he pioneered the corner blitz, supposedly. Because he was one of the first cornerbacks fast and courageous enough to attempt such a feat. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It took a whole lot of time to research. Probably took about 12 hours to make. Put a whole lot of effort into this, man. Next up, we will be doing Pat Tillman next Friday. But we're going to have a whole lot of other highlights in between. And wow, this was a whole lot of highlights, man. And I'm glad I had enough. And we should have enough for Pat Tillman, too. So please leave a like, a comment. Let me know what to do next. You got any recommendations to make this series better? Please tell me, because I need the Kobe Bryant one to be perfect. I have a specific date. There's a reason I chose Friday. There's a reason this video is this long exactly. Everything right now is calculated and planned out. I put so much thought into this, man. But if there's anything you guys need me to, any recommendations you guys want to make, please let me know. Please. I need the Kobe one to be perfect. I really do, because that's my idol. So, hope to see you guys on the next one. Peace out.